specialized technician in video and sound. We also have uh, Paulo, who is our interpreter, and he is translating into English for those who are outside Brazil, and Vera and Patricia, who put all this event together. As I told you, this research or survey that is carried out every year. Okay, going back a little. There we go. Very good. So this survey, which has been on for 5 years, has already been able to identify some indicators that are present in some organizations and already allows us to separate or rank those companies in the way they are using coaching. So we know that many organizations are using coaching as a development tool, but there are some that are using it to build a true coaching culture within their organizations. Three of them are here and will tell you their cases. So they are leaving from coaching practice as a developing tool, which is a new thing. Yeah, there are many companies which still use coaching as a fixing thing. Okay, uh, fix this guy here because we need this and that and that. So there are some organizations, unfortunately, using coaching like this. For the person is good, but not for the organization. So the practice of coaching as a development uh, tool is something that is recent, but some companies are one step ahead, transforming their cultures by using coaching in other manners, and that's what we are going to talk about. As I told you, this survey is carried out by ICF together with the Human Capital Institute, and they survey between 4 and 450 companies, and now they're building a business case in terms of what a coaching coach organization would look like. And the companies that show at least four of the indicators they identified, they can be considered a coaching culture company. These are the indicators. I put it in blue, highlighted in blue. What's the most important? First is engagement. 17% of the companies show a strong coaching culture. So, of all the companies, only 17 are considered as coaching culture companies. Three of them are here today in this room. Those companies showed a strong coaching culture, and 60% of their employees have a high engagement as compared to 50% of employees from other companies that do not have this. The results, so of all those companies, 51% of them present uh, better results than their competitors. The ones that don't have a strong coaching culture, only 30 some percent show this high performance. They offer coaching in several manners. 92% use three coaching modalities: outside coaching, and then we work like this, external coaches, and they offer internal internal coaching. So they train their own internal coaches and they form leaders with coaching skills. So they offer coaching in three ways. So 87% developed coaching skills in their leaders. So an increase of 9% as compared to the beginning of this survey. So this practice of coaching skills has been growing, and 30 some percent offer training programs, and 13 of them through certified schools. It's not only the program done inside the company. It's not only programs hired from a professional company, but they started using uh, certified certified schools uh, to train their own people, and one of them will be presenting their results here. And this year, they also serve them differently. They included another factor, an evaluation of the impact of using coaching in
Hotel.
processes of change management programs. In 2018, they tried to assess the role of coaching in change management. 432 companies that went through high impact changes. So they asked which development actions did they use to help in this program, and what were the results. And they compared the differences between high performance companies and the other ones. So the first one, how many companies used development actions for change management? In blue, you have high performance companies, and in red, the other companies. And there you have what kind of actions they use to help in change management. So first is team coaching. So that was the least utilized practice. So less than 20% of the organizations used team coaching. Then mentoring program, team coaching, participation of events in specific conferences, hiring of external coaches, assessments. I don't know uh, how assessment helped them, job rotation, leader formation or training in coaching skills, the meetings with senior uh, people in the company, and then e-learning and classroom training. So classroom training was the most used tool, reaching almost 80% of the organization. So coaching, it starts being used, but they are not the most used practice. This shows the impact on the success of these changes, and then the graph is inverted. The high performing companies are in red, and blue not so high, but then you see that things are inverted. Close to 80%. Okay, understood. Okay, I got it. Group coaching, 80% the impact of the tool on the success of the change. 80% in group coaching, almost 80% in individual coaching, then informal mentoring, which is that partnership with a senior person, then actual learning, labor, uh, learning, and then mentoring, and then classroom training. See how interesting. So, a large investment. This is a thing I've been studied this for quite a while. Look at the money people invest in training, classroom training, and the result it brings. But on the other side, how much money they invest in team coaching and the results they obtain. So let's see what those companies are doing. I think that's the last slide. So let's see what they are doing. They are here in Brazil, sitting in this, and they will tell us the new ways of using coaching and the qualification of this. So how I am using and what's the result that I've been seeing in terms of coaching in my company. So if everything works out from the technological point of view, is asking people like Eliani to come forward. Eliani Dimitri, responsible for HR in Brazil, but she will introduce herself. She was one of our students. She is a trained coach. SAP is partner of Ericsson International. They have a world contract with our school. SAP has been one of the companies that has been investing in coaching internally and has the greatest number of trained professionals and certified professionals through our through the partnership with our uh, company, and they use also external coaches and their results of this practice. I remember that I read an interview by the chairwoman of SAP some time ago, and she said that her vision, her dream would be each SAP employee to be a coach. Then she said, we won't have any more problems. And she is following this path. So thank you very much for having come. Be welcome, and you have the floor. Yeah, I think it's okay. Thank you, Yassi, for the invitation. I would like to have a chat, not a say presentation, formal presentation. So feel comfortable. So the idea is to share with you part of my experience, not only because I work with HR, but also my personal experience that makes quite a difference. I brought a video that summarizes part of our practice, which is an internal video, and we invite our employees to watch this. And let's see if we can. Okay, that's it. Don't. Eu estou confuso. Mentoria, sabedoria e orientação. Here are the difference between mentoring, because we also have the mentoring program, a person, what is the relationship between the person and the mentor, and then consulting, the main concepts, and then coaching. And here shows that we give no advice, because the person generally looks for an advice. I don't know about your experience, but this is what generally happens. And then how this process will be carried out, what's the path undertaken. The person is still a little confused, and the topics through which she would resort to coaching, because sometimes they say, "Oh, I don't have any problems, so why should I use coaching?" So these are the topics that people resort to coaching. because of these topics. It's not because we are in a company that we will not discuss work life balance and career change or whatever. And who are the coaches? Yeah, they are our peers. That's why we call it peer learning. That is, you learn through your peers. They are in several business areas, especially not in HR. They are trained and certified, and they are volunteers willing to support, see, the confidentiality, the 101 meeting, and then it's open to everybody. So everybody may be a coach within the organization. So what you need to do to set aside some time to think of the questions you would like to work on, and then you are ready to grow. So some behaviors that we experience in our day to day to improve our emotions, our behavior, and even change our way of thinking in our day to day activities. So, how does the process start? So, we ask people to familiarize with coaching. There is a on Jam, which is our information sharing tool. Then, when you decide that you want to invest in coaching, then you will look for a coach. There is a tool called Success Map, and then you will look for the coaches that are in that tool. In order to be part of that tool, they have to go through the Ericsson School 4 modules. So that's where everything starts. When we do this kind of training, we can then use the tool. We we put there in what language we can use Portuguese, English, or Spanish, because this is open all over the world. If somebody here wants to be coached by a person in Germany, or vice versa, or repeat, repeat the question. How do they measure SAP? How does SAP measure coaching efficiency? So that's my colleague. Actually, through our engagement surveys, that's one of the way to measure the effectiveness. Right after the coaching process ends, we insert this into the tool, and then we send the coaching. It's an automatic survey, so he can say what the process was like. So this is a global survey focused on coaching itself. So what we do in addition to this, so he already has this kind of measurement. It's an engagement tool, and our engagement is 85% globally of employees engagement, and Brazil is 86%. So these are things that we measure through that survey. So what it is like in the company. So for the time being, these are the measures that I know. Only with time we will know other results. So in the last 2 years, the amount of people who are looking for coaching is increasing. Right now, we are start refusing uh, some uh, some people and forwarding them to referring them to other people. And so coaches, uh, let's say, quote, lose, unquote, 5% of their time for this. So I cannot serve everybody at the same time. See, I am HR uh, manager for all Latin America. I serve some businesses, and so my function is 50% HR manager, and the other 50% I am employee relation partner in Latin America. And then I tell, well, 50-50. Well, the 5% I use for coaching is outside my regular working hours. I also lead the autist hiring program, people with handicaps, and right now with a social uh, project. And so this 50-50 doesn't tell anything or everything. So I cannot have more than, let's say, 8 or 10 people at the same time. But we cannot work with more than that. And then I refer them to other coaches. I don't know if you mentioned the number of coaches. Oh, yeah, I'm going to talk about this. Yes. That's up to you. You can interrupt me or leave it for the end. And then after that, we'll have the Q&A session. Okay. Here, just a context, a general aspects that are the foundation of our philosophy. Why coaching is so important in our company. We live in this world of the future of work, not only based on technology, but artificial intelligence, um, e-learning, and all that. The complexity of jobs, of works, and so we are already living this future. This is our vision of how we understand talent within our organization. See, it's me, the employee in this complex world, in this changing world. What what must I, as a professional, should think of my skills, my aspirations, of my knowledge vis-a-vis this changing world? And also, SAP must think in terms of how SAP will think of its strategy and the skills and capabilities it needs and where it's going to invest. So that's the uh, counterpart by the company. And this shows you the importance for the employee of building of building his or her own development, how they're going to prepare for that. And that's when we enter this development process or development plan that is customized. And so, as a coach, we have the greatest contribution. So, this is the summarized message we want to convey to the employee in the coaching process in this transformation. Here, these numbers are from the first quarter of 2019. So we have 613 coaches that have participated so far, 374 coaches all over the world. In Brazil, I think we have almost 20 here in Sao Paulo and São Leopoldo in the state of Rio Grande do Sul in the southern part of Brazil, who have already gone through this training. So we have had 750 coaching relationships and open relationship. So when we start the process, and 609 active relationships and 141 completed. So, and then we have the coaching feedback survey from 1 to 5. The consumer survey is 4.7 in terms of consumer satisfaction, which is the net promote score, which is 100%. So this is what gives us an indication that we are on the right track. Additionally, so sorry that this is in English, but the coaching initiatives we have, this virtual classroom, there are some, let's say, courses or programs within our development tool that anybody can do. Learning to go, coaching moments, and advanced coaching. So any employee can take that. And then we have the presential learning that is in presence. So it's a 2 day process. So coachable moments, it's called. It's based on coaching conversations. So when somebody comes to you, what kind of conversation will be? Is it going to be a directive conversation, or will you listen and will the person have open-ended questions? So in the beginning, we do this for leaders since we have a very low volume of courses. So I am one of the persons uh, who has been trained. So with my colleague Danilo Alves, and we are forming the fourth group in Brazil for leaders only. So it's 2 days that we have to devote for this training, and it's been quite interesting. So we see that it's a very hands-on, practical course. We do the role plays. They choose their own themes, and they have triads there. We just follow up. We are the observers, and we train the active listening, some coaching skills, as Yassi mentioned. And the third one is an initiative like this. In our portal, when we have development offers, career development offers. First, it will enter a portal that says, do you want to talk to someone? What are you looking for? Oh, I want my development plan. I want to talk about career. So the person will have a 1 hour conversation with one of the coaches. The person goes to the tool where I put my agenda for a coaching conversation. If the person has career questions, uh, if she has any issue that is impacting her, I don't know if I am on the right track, if I want to change, if I want to develop some skills, the person that she will interact with will forward her to somebody available, and then on everybody's agenda she will say, well, like my case, Friday 10 a.m. So this conversation will awaken maybe his interest of going through coach training. So I read in that survey that what is not very common when you have this coaching conversation, especially when it's a leader, it's what it's the setting up the contract. So how does that happen? Not only in that conversation, but in the process. Because if it is in the process, at least through our training, we must have a contract. So the goal, no, the goal is the main thing, and we've had meetings, and sometimes we devote more than one conversation to really clarify the issue. Because since I have seen my colleagues, they're very disciplined in terms of Ericsson. The only thing uh, that SAP has provided is a career guide. It goes through the steps of the contract or the coaching process, which is to identify and then think of the options of what we have, and then on the final objective. Because many people resort to us because of career issues. So it will always fall onto the career issue. So one of our colleagues found out inside the tool that this helps the person organize himself or herself. I think the contract has been worked like this. In the first conversation, it's just the objective, if it is a short one or a longer one, especially those who do not know what coaching is, but those who do this one one time action are the coaches. So what is the content of each one and the results? And then we also involve coaches to exchange experiences. So we're having a meeting here in Sao Paulo in terms of our difficulties and also tools, how each one is using this or that. And then we have some options that our global coaching group is creating. So, in addition of having that jam page where we share our experiences and readings, many things that we share there, we can also have some peer consulting. I may have some colleague acting as a consultant. We might set up a triad to do this internally, and this is open to anybody from any part of the world, and also a supervisor from SAP on a one basis, and also the these meetings, which is the coaches corner. And now they are creating this ambassador concept. They want coaches to be ambassadors more and more of this process. It's a team that is working on this, so they have thousands of things they're creating. So that's the proposal to create greater visibility and show the impact. And what is coming up on May 15? We will we were invited for a compliance training. At SAP, we have a an agreement with the employees showing the confidentiality, how many meetings we're going to have. So this compliance issue has been discussed a lot by the group that is organizing this whole work. So we will work through this compliance process because you have confidentiality of information, etc. We will have a few things related to ICF and also, as mentioned here, is offering soon, and also change management. We have the support from this team anytime we need, so it's very well organized and structured. We have uh, quarterly meetings where we share all this information and news about it. I think that's what I had to tell you in a general, broad view. Okay, Ivone, how are you? Just to complement your company, how do you assess the results? So you said that you carry out a survey. So do you carry out the survey during the process too? Yeah, we have had more informal feedbacks. One of my first coaches, after 2 or 3 months, she entered my room. She came in, hugged me, kissed me, and she said, I would like to thank you because things are happening in my career after the coaching process. So, this is the kind of feedback I have received. We have heard this informally, but yeah, otherwise people abroad won't hear you. I think this would be interesting, and maybe it would be even more impacting for the company because I already have feedback from my coaches, and then 4 or 5 months later they come back and say, "Oh, I did that other thing too," and maybe different surveys. How do you assess the impact of that process? Did you attain your goals? Okay, well, they leave the session saying that the final session saying that my goal was attained, especially if it is a career issue. See, being from HR, I see this, and many of the people that do this with other coaches have been saying, as well as their managers, oh, uh, my employee did the coaching process, and now he had this change. And another thing that came to my mind about assessment, we for in the last 2 years we are not using a rating assessment anymore, but we are using a so-called continuous conversation process. And in this process, there is no rating at the end of the year. We have continuous talks or conversation. So the leaders invite managers to have this coaching role, more listening than talking. And this is a big part of leaders development process. And these are development conversations, much more than goal conversations. So we want to have more often and more significant conversations. And and then we have to use the coaching role more than leading. And my question is, out of those trained coaches, how many are from HR and from not from? From HR, besides me, there are two colleagues in the South and one colleague that has just graduated, Fernanda Saraiva, and the other ones are all not from HR. Three of them are executive, uh, and they are already, they've been mentors for a long time and saw coaching as another supporting tool. They are very much sought after. So most of them are not from HR. Actually, I would like to know the courses. You have an informational program, and in a second, at a second time, the internal training by the coaches. Is that the only training in order for them to become coaches inside SAP? And if so, how do you ensure that all those trained coaches are good coaches to lead those internal processes? Is there any evaluation, or all they need is that training? These internal training, part of them, the uh, distance learning, they're done by professionals in this area, and any person from the company can benefit from this. The ready for coachable moments is also for the employees, but the trainers, they are coaches. The coach, the coach formation, coach training is necessarily trained by Ericsson. So they must go through the four modules and get the certification. So I could not be an internal SAP coaching if I'm not trained by Ericsson. So any collaborator can do this. So the person looks for this, and Ericsson has this global coaching. They have an issue screening. And so you fill out a form. Why do you want to be a coach? How you can, what's your experience? How can you contribute? There's no interview, but it's just the willingness of the person of becoming a coach. So it's the, before he goes to Ericsson, uh, uh, the person goes through this internal, let's say, coach like process. It can be online or in presence. In Brazil, when people know that it's in presence, they want to come here. I learn much more when it is in presence, because online is a little more difficult, but it's but when they come for the in presence, there is a much greater gain. And also the way of learning is different. And how long the coaching sessions take, and if there is a number of sessions. I do like 45 to 50 minutes, and in general, between 8 and 10 meetings. There's no uh, hard rule for that. And then I generally tell in the beginning that we're going to have between 8 and 10, but with that coach, in 2 meetings, he said, no, my goal has been attained. So it's simpler than looking for a person from the outside. And so the internal people have a clearer vision. And sometimes in 2 or 3 meetings, we solve. And of course, there are those that need 10, 12 meetings because you bring more objectives. Sometimes it has more than one goal. That's my experience. Maybe we should talk to other coaches to know their experience. And this is the average. In our last coaches meeting, one of the coaches, his position was created to be a coach of sales academy. People who are being trained on sales. Yeah, Fernando Catani. So he must have told you that it's his main task. He was saying that he has been used the material very similar to the one I mentioned to Yassi, and then he invites the coachee to think of his or her goal before the session. But I have left the choice of the issue more open. So, because the person will naturally bring this, and I've had a wonderful experience when we go through the training. We say, "Oh, I will not be able to do this and that." Okay. So when the person comes to talk, the person has already started coaching her or his own mind. Sometimes the person brings some uh, action plan, and then during the second or third meeting, the person says, "Oh, look what I've done. I've been, flabbergasted with this because the person has already started this process." So for me, it has been very interesting to see the evolution of the process. So I have not asked the person to think of the next meeting. I just let things flow. It's much greater than my expectation. And then I celebrate in the beginning of the session what the person has already done. So the internal SAP experience. And this gives me an opportunity to train with greater security. So the coaches come to me. I didn't have uh, to sell my business, and so that's the idea of SAP process. It's not that he will use the first person that he should uh, talk to more than one coach. So one more question, and if you have more questions, please write them down. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the other two presentations, right? My name is Angelica. I would like to know how long ago has SAP implemented the coaching culture in Brazil, and what are the impacts you have seen? It's the same time that we started the training here 4 years ago. In SAP, with my formation and Danilo's, we we trained 2 years ago. And the culture is this. People know more about this. Our role is to publicize coaching more and more because many people still don't know what coaching is. And through the coaches, the managers, and through the coaches, we publicize this. But there are many more people who know about it. And the result has been people's own satisfaction after going through coaching sessions. In all those processes, we have been talking about coaching. The SAP talk, uh, uh, everybody knows about these SAP talks. That's how we have encouraged this coaching role in leaders and also in employees. This has changed the company's culture a lot in a significant manner. That's the idea. The idea is that everybody has a conchy conversation in at all moments, whether it's a coffee, a conversation by the coffee machine, or anywhere, anytime. So when the person comes to you, how will you respond to that? By asking a question or by giving advice or helping the person think. So that's what we mean by implementing culture. Just to confirm with you, going back to my indicators, as true coaching, I know that SAP uh, fills up most of the indicators. Here, engagement, you mentioned 85% global, much higher than the companies in our lab in the south is 100% engagement. 100%. I have a theory that you can share, and I've shared with many people along my professional life. A long time ago, in the corporate world, because I have abandoned it some 20 years ago, but I worked there for 20 or 25 years. Before, the individual within an organization, he existed as an individual, and then things started becoming more sophisticated and expanded, and the individual no longer lives as an individual. He is a number, he is a geographical location, a job. So the company slices this individual, but as an individual, he has little space. So uh, I I am from the time where we had social assistants that somewhat worked as a coach, and so coaching is fostering this. And I think you notice this within SAP because when he comes for the first meeting, he already knows something about it. He knows that he will have a space for him or for her because he highly values that because it's his own. That's my theory. Why coaching is having such a big success in the corporate world because the individual also finds an opportunity to show his own views in addition to growing professionally. That's why you have such a high level. So, so you offer coaching in several manners. I don't know if you use external coaches. Very little. Within the coaching offerings, there is the possibility of an executive wanting. So most companies do this. So for other levels, internal coaching, you also have people with coaching skills that act in coaching conversations. And you also reported a perception in terms of working teams. So these are some indicators, and there are other ones that are not there, which is the percentage of budget vis-a-vis the amount invested in training by the company. So the companies with strong coaching culture, they invest at least 15% of their training and development budget in coaching activities in the various forms. So in order to be considered a coaching culture company, must have at least 15% of this. And of course, SAP invests much more than that. Yeah, we have a big respect for training, especially for the technical training, but I would not be able to. But globally, this must be greater than 15%. The team coaching, as you mentioned, in Brazil, we have just one person formed by team coaching, Danilo, and he has applied this because when the manager brings comes to us for, let's say, design thinking or team building, and then I refer him to the team coaching. And then Danilo, I am his assistant. We've had three processes that worked very well. Somebody, somebody asked me, what's the difference between group coaching and team coaching? So first of all, I'd like to thank you for your presentation. Please, uh, so you can ask other. So I'd like to thank you. And then you leave your contacts here for people who want to have more information about you. So I will. The difference between group coaching and team coaching, for those who do not know,